I'm supposed to be. I'm getting money like I'm supposed to be.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming to listen to all the Winthrop students. They're going to present their semester-long project, and I'm just here to introduce Dr. Besmer, and he's going to introduce the projects to you.
Thank you all for coming today. I'm Andrew Besmer. I teach computer science at Winthrop University. And what you're about to see today is our Capstone course that we do for our digital information design program. So this is a program we put together with 4 different departments and 3 different colleges. So it's basically an interdisciplinary degree that we offer. The departments that we have observed in this program are marketing, mass communication, design, and computer science. Our students take a core of courses across all of these different disciplines, and then they are exposed to each one of them so that they are cross-trained in essentially all of them. So for example, if you're a computer science focused student, you have to learn about communication, you have to learn about marketing, you have to learn about design. After that, the students will deep dive and they'll do a track where they learn deeply about one of those types of concentrations. So for me, it would be the back-end web development, computer science aspect of things, so databases, that sort of thing. After they're done, they come back together in our Capstone course, which is what you're about to see now, and they form interdisciplinary teams, where basically each one of the teams has somebody from computer science, has somebody from marketing, somebody from mass communication, and somebody from design. They work together on real-world projects, so these projects have real clients who have certain demands that they'll place on them in terms of expectations, output, timeliness, and even if you were to ask or probe questions, you'll find client management becomes one of the central themes of these kind of projects. We have worked on these projects over the course of the semester for over 1,000 hours. So we meet in a very, I'll call design studios type environment, where we get together for 8 hours on a Friday in the Rock Hill Tech Incubator. So we are actually co-located off-site with the technology incubator. And we work there in these interdisciplinary teams. So we've done this over the whole semester. In exchange for this over 1,000 hours of work that these students have put into these projects, we give them 10 minutes to convey to you all that they were able to do. Clearly, they will not have near enough time to convey all of the things that they participated in this semester. But I do hope that if you have time afterwards and you're still curious about maybe some of the other activities that they took place over the course of the semester, that you'll take the time to come and just talk to them and find out any lingering questions that you have. Without further ado, I'll introduce the first team, which is going to be College Cycles.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jalen Copeland.
I'm Christina Pham.
And I'm Bobby McCree, the third.
And I'm Christina Swanson.
And we are the group who worked with Mr. Robert Baker, the owner of College Cycles Box Shop, to develop his online presence by creating a website. So College Cycles was founded in Rock Hill, South Carolina in 1990. Mr. Baker offers services such as bike repairs, bike sales, and bike maintenance. His focus is to show how community-oriented he is by getting involved in events such as the Velodrome Race Series and the BMX Supercross series. He also donates bikes. He also fixes bikes and donates them to charity.
Okay, so initially, Mr. Robert Baker, his initial marketing strategy was through word of mouth and strictly through that. But over recent years, he's decided that he wanted to branch out his market more digitally. And in that request, he asked us to make him a website. And certain specifications that he asked us to do was to create a custom plugin in which he could answer real questions that customers have asked him on his website, and create a services page in which customers can schedule an appointment with him for his bike services. an event calendar in which he could populate with events that he is associated with or helps with. And then he also needed a mailing list in which he could send out newsletters, all the while having complete access and editability of the website.
So for our SWOT analysis, the strengths that we discovered for College Cycles, their location. They're located in the heart of Rock Hill, close to downtown with good proximity to Winthrop campus. The management team has around 27 years of experience, and their large selection gives their customers a lot to choose from.
So as was mentioned before, he sort of lacked a digital presence. Essentially, he started off with word-of-mouth marketing, and to a degree, that's beneficial. However, this is where we come in, to build him a website to expand that digital presence. Now, another weakness was the lack of Google Photos. When you look up a business, you want to see a visual representation of what it's about. If not, what can you think of? So we had to work on the photo part of that as well.
Some of the opportunities that College Cycles has, the local area growth. Rock Hill is growing at about 1.3% in 2017, and Fort Mill around 15%. The growth of social media, their Twitter and Facebook pages were updated, and the website, the creation gives them a footprint on the internet.
So some of the threats we had to worry about, when we looked up his site online, he had a few low reviews, mostly average, 3.5 stars and below. So our motivation was to bring those stars back up. Now, in terms of competition, within a 10-mile radius, there were other bike shops that had higher reviews. So of course, we have to worry about that in our reporters too.
All right, so now for the interactive media part. So for the front-end development of the site, I was responsible for the design, layout, and the custom development of a WordPress theme. I started by creating a sitemap which provided a little bit of information about each page and how they relate to each other. Next, I developed 2 mood boards, one which consisted of the nature and the bike track, and one which consisted of the shop and Mr. Baker's time served in the Air Force. As you can see here, he ultimately ended up choosing the mood board that consisted of his time in the Air Force and elements of the shop. In addition, I created a high-fidelity prototype which consisted of customer testimonials, contact information, and the services Mr. Baker offers.
Okay, so as the web application design person of the group, I was responsible for the back-end development of College Cycle's website. The first thing that he requested was a custom plugin, so that was my main focus. In this plugin, customers are able to ask questions via a form on the website, and the question is then he's able to reply through the admin dashboard on the back end of the website. Whenever he replies to the customer, it is sent a response back via email. And if the question he deems as something that he would like to show online, he's able to then publish it, and it will show up on the front end. Another responsibility that I had was just to install other pre-built plugins that would help him with the website. I ensured that they displayed properly and that they function as intended within Jalen's theme that he created. I also made a majority of the content on the website editable through the back-end interface. Right here is a screenshot of the plugin that I created, the questions to FAQ. Here's the back-end part of it, and if the admin ever wanted to edit anything, he could just edit one of these questions and then be greeted by this interface, the top part being where the question is, and then the bottom box concluding where the answer to that question. In the middle part is the additional information where you would have your, if it was a question asked by a real client, it would contain their name, their credentials, email, whatnot. But this is a screenshot of a question populated by the admin. And if they wanted to save it or change the question, they can back here. And then if they wanted to make it live on the website, you just press the blue button and it would publish it and it would show within the front like this. Some of the challenges that me and Jalen faced during the development of College Cycle's website was that both of us had little to no experience in WordPress, so we had to learn the built-in functionalities that they had on there, how the functions worked and what they did, as well as the standardized format in which you would develop plugins and themes in WordPress. One issue that we ran into was, unintentionally, was that the WordPress updates quite frequently, and not all updates were an issue, but on a couple occasions, WordPress did deprecate some of the lines of code, and due to that, it made Jalen and I, our plugin and theme not function as we would have intended.
So representing the digital mass media side, it was my job to become the digital content developer. Now, that required me to do extensive research on our client. So that meant I had to get the approval of my team to have weekly meetings with our client and even physically go to his shop to gather that data. And one of the things I developed was a promo video. And essentially, a promo video is good because it shows a portfolio in a video to his audience so they can get a good grasp of what he has in his shop. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at this promo video and get your thoughts on it. Awesome, right? And of course, pictures speak louder than words as well. So another part of my job is to gather photos of his shop as well. And of course, with some assistance, we were able to gather more than just bike pictures. He also has skateboards, discs, helmets, a lot of other fitness gear. And this was good for us because it expanded our target audience to more than just bike enthusiasts. So people were able to look at more and just say he has more than just a bike shop. Another thing was I had to collect interviews or collect real testimonials for our user testers as well. And this is good because it added legitimacy to our site. Let me ask you, who would you trust? A robot or an actual person? No doubt a person, right? So this would be beneficial for us because it added trust. And more people were willing to look at reviews made by real people than some false people.
And for digital commerce, I was responsible for the marketing aesthetics. I updated the Twitter and Facebook pages to match the theme of the website to create consistency across the full web presence. For the advertising campaign, I created 2 flyers, one for in-house and one for out-of-house use. The out-of-house flyer features a map, as well as removable strips for people to take that have the name of the shop, address, phone number, and the website URL. And the in-house use is just for him, wherever he may go. For user testing, so we had 6 users run experiments to test the functionality of the website. And we analyzed the data to find pain points throughout the website. And they ranged from small, simple solutions to larger oversights. The scroll bar had inadvertently been hidden from view. Some of the wording was too vague and led users to use improper forms to ask questions or submit or get quotes. We didn't provide any context for what subscribing to the newsletter would entail, and we didn't have a list of brands or products that were available in the store, but proper solutions were implemented, and these corrections have all been made.
I would be lying if I said we didn't have any challenges we had to face as well. One of the things we had to worry about was in the beginning, we developed a digital survey and a physical come and grab type survey. And we didn't really get a lot of feedback because many people didn't come in and fill out the survey. So we sort of had to gather actual people for our demographics, for our personas. And that required us to actually go out to the BMX, to the velodrome, to pick up real people and interview them. It was good in the end because we built a rapport. We built a relationship with this audience. So now we have an audience to actually look at our website.
So here is an actual working version of the site. So we start by going to the home page, which provides his services, customer testimonials, contact information, operation hours. Then we go up to find the Get a Quote button. So once you click on the Get a Quote button, it takes you to the services page which shows all his services as far as from assembly to getting your crank fixed, to getting your handlebars fixed, etc. And then it also shows a price range for those services.
Here's the booking application where you can choose the category of your service as well as the specific one and the worker you wish to work on your bike. You're then able to click on which times you are available before then being listed at the time slots available that Robert can work with you. You would select one, and then in the next tab, you would enter your credentials such as your name, your phone number, email, and any additional information you would like Robert Baker to know as he worked on your bike.
Here in the facts page, this is where our testimony, our interviews gave us their most common questions. Now, of course, it's not limited to the ones you see on screen because our client is able to add some more comments.
And our events page is populated by Robert Baker himself. These are events in the community that he's affiliated with that anyone is welcome to come attend.
We thank you for listening to us. Any questions?
At what phase of development did you do user testing? And based on your semester-long restriction, was that like a fast follow toward the end of the semester, or did you do user testing early? And what did the user testing look like?
So starting off with our usability testing, initially we had a lot of reviews that talked about, what is this site about? Of course, once they took a look at the homepage, they got the grasp of, okay, this is the bike shop. In the beginning, when we really didn't have anyone, we first had to get their idea, okay, have you heard of College Cycles? A lot of them say, yes, we know the guy. He's an awesome guy. We know him. And so then that's when we started making our notes. That's when we sort of got the idea of, okay, these are people who are in their 50s. Okay, they shop here. Now, what about people our age? We found those as well. And so that's when we started making a lot of progress with our usability testers.
So for the user testing, it happened pretty late in the project. We pretty much had to go through all of the data that we found and make the corrections within a week. Truly, it happened very late in the semester. But we gave users 5 different tasks and had them follow through. And we gave them like ease ratings in the end.
Was there anything that when you were working with a client, was there anything that the client requested that you weren't able to deliver? Or if not, was there anything that you kind of proposed that the client pushed back on?
I believe at one point he did ask for us if there was any way that he could integrate his Facebook and Twitter, in which he could edit those things in the back from WordPress. But those are one of the functions that I was not comfortable with trying to do, nor did I think I had the time to press and learn something else like that.
Is there a reason why you chose WordPress over other softwares or platforms?
The main reasons was that when we met with the client, his initial idea was that he wanted complete control over the content of the website. He wanted to be able to do all these things with it, and we just thought that it would just make sense to use WordPress. Yeah, he's not very technical, so WordPress is pretty old. It's been there for a while, so there's a lot of documentation out there for him available. So we just chose what seemed like the best solution given our client.
So if you had, let's say, 3 more months, what are the 3 enhancements that you will be able to do to the website that you would suggest to do? So if you had 3 more months to work on the website, what are the key 3 main enhancements that you would do to the website?
Well, one of the things, if we had more time, was definitely make sure that the back end is really functional. Of course, looking to make sure that the design is up to par, it's responsive, it's fully responsive. Everyone on their phones can use it. And so, of course, and checking with our client to make sure, okay, this is what we have. Is everything good? Is all your inventory, your products is everything good, updated? So definitely, if we have more time, we'll make sure everything is spruce and functional. Good question.
All right, seeing no more questions, we'll go ahead and let this team go. Thank you, guys. And as these guys get set up, I'll just give you a little bit of background. So for several years, I'm going to guess in the range of 4 to 5 years, we've been really, really fortunate to have our Capstone group be able to work with Red Ventures on a project internally for you guys. So we've done different properties for you. Like this year, we had another great project from Red Ventures. One of the most rewarding things about being able to work with you guys is as we come back here today, I see in the audience a lot of alumni, right? People that I've taught and people that have gone to our university. So we're really fortunate to be able to have worked on this project, and hopefully you enjoy what these guys put together for you.
All right, so hi, am I on? Is it going? Okay, hi, everybody. We, like Besmer said, we are a group of digital information design students at Winthrop University, and for this project, we did work with Red Ventures, and we were tasked with the project of building an interactive voice response system, and today we want to share that project with you. So a little bit about our team first. We are each from the different concentrations within the digital information design program. So I'm Luke Johnson. I'm the digital commerce concentration. And so my main focus was really on how we can use this system to increase sales and increase conversion rates.
My name is Taylor Fox. I did the interactive media portion of the project. And so my primary focus was making sure that the front end looked well for the users. So focusing on the user interface and also understanding how those agents would experience that.
My name's Brett Pittman. I focused on the web application design portion of the project. I focused on server-side logic, database construction, and interacting with the database.
I'm Rachel Black, and I'm the digital mass media person, and so I focused on all the content and the user testing of the system.
So when we were first given this project, the first thing we had to figure out what an IVR system is, because we had never heard about it. And actually, right after we first talked to them, we all looked at each other and we're like, we have no idea what this means. If you want to go ahead. So we figured out what it was. It makes and receives calls. It's an automated response to call interaction. We've all been there when we had to call customer support. You get the system that's just like, press 1 for this. Press 2 for this, and everyone hates it. Like, it's not a great system, but, and that's what we found out, that people respond to certain traits about it that they do like, and there are many systems that do not. They're entirely in a web-based system, which we did not understand that. We thought it was something to do with phone lines or some phone service that you had to set up. And we also learned that the aging technology of IVR would present a challenge. As things such as like AI come out, it seems like people are more so pulling away from that kind of IVR system because they feel like it's not as, I don't want to say smart, but it's like not as responsive as it could be.
So we were given a few different objectives to kind of lead us through the project. The main one being that we wanted to increase revenue and sales by increasing the amount of calls that made it to a sales agent to actually be sales related, while automating the ones that were not. So if a caller was just interested in like general support or a frequently asked question, we wanted to automate those responses so that the sales agents actually spent time talking to callers that were actually likely to be convertible.
So based upon those objectives, we came up with a few goals as to how that kind of embodied how exactly we were going to attack those objectives. So the first thing we decided, we knew that we needed to create a dynamic branching system based upon caller information needs, which meant that we needed to find a way to get information from the caller and determine what exactly they want, give them the information that they need, and hopefully send them to the right place. We also determined that we need to provide a system for designing, analyzing, and experimenting with different menu flows. This means that administrators need to be able to go in, create their own flows, see how those flows are doing, and increase how much traffic or decrease how much traffic is going to each one according to how well they are doing.
So based off these goals, we had to organize a way to come across this approach. And so we looked at different platforms for this IVR system, because again, this is the first time we've ever worked with it, and we decided to use Twilio. And with them, we use their voice APIs to handle phone calls as they come in and connecting them to agents. We use their Flex agent dashboard and built upon that, and we use the Studio to help organize those flows for when people call in. We also use an Express server and MySQL database, and this is for dynamic branching. So when a user calls in, we take information from their call and use that to put them into the correct flow that they should be in. And we also have analytics that whenever a call comes in, we track that, send it to the database, and bring it back down for the dashboard.
So here's a general overview of how we connect all of those different components that you saw earlier. So you can see where a user calls in and it automatically hits our Express server, at which point initial logic and database calls are made to determine which flow exactly the user should fall into. Once that flow is determined, then they are sent to the flow that the administrator created in Twilio Studio, and from there, they will interact with the IVR system and hopefully either get the information that they need or be sent to a sales agent where hopefully a sale will be made. And from there, if a sale is made, then that will be sent back to the database for further tracking and analytics.
So what exactly are we bringing to the system? One of those things is the dynamic branching based on user information. So like mentioned before, when a user calls in, it makes a request to the server, and then the database decides whether or not they're a potential or existing customer in the system. And then after that initial splitting, the caller is routed based on the traffic percentages set by administrators on which flow to go to, and those flows can kind of be connected to kind of optimize the information that the person calling is receiving.
We also knew that we needed to allow for easier experimentation of menu flows. So when these different flows or IVR trees are created by administrators, they needed to be able to decide how much traffic did and did not go to each particular one. And so we created a flows dashboard via React that the administrator could use to increase or decrease how much traffic goes to each flow. This is very live data, and so therefore when they set that 80% of calls need to go to a default flow, 80% of calls will go to that default flow. And each flow also has its own phone number, which means that promotional campaigns can be ran that bypass the percentage-based system. And so therefore, if you say want all customers who fall into this category to go to a experimental flow, you can designate that. This is essentially a high-level view of how our Express server is working. So a user calls in, the Express server makes a query to the database to see if the caller's phone number is in the customer's table. If it is in the customer's table, then it's labeled as an existing customer. If it is not in said table, then they are labeled as a potential customer. At that point, we'll say that they are labeled an existing customer. The Express server makes another call to the database to see what flows are available for existing customers and how much traffic do administrators want to go to each flow. Ranges are created based on these percentages, and the call, and based upon which range the call falls into, that determines which flow they are then sent to. You can see a view of how the flows dashboard looks here. So you can see where in the existing customers category, we have 3 different flows. 85% of traffic goes to the default, 10% goes to the optimized, and 5% goes to the experimental. And again, this data can be changed live and it will affect traffic. You'll see more of this in our demo at the end.
So with this system of experimenting and creating different flows, a crucial part of it was analyzing these different menu flows. So we created a custom way to track analytics and a custom dashboard to display the analytics. so that you could get a report of how each of these different menu flows are performing. So we track simple things just like the gross calls or the queue calls, which are the amount of calls that make it to the queue for the sales agent, as well as orders, so that we can track conversion rates. And using these metrics, you'd be able to perform statistical split testing to see within each of these categories which of the flows are actually performing the best. And so you can make smarter business decisions and increase the traffic to the flows that are converting at the highest rate. So here's a quick view of that analytics dashboard. We will go a little bit more in depth on it in the demo at the end, but you can just get a general idea of the detailed breakdown of each different menu flow and the metrics that are associated with them.
And so we also had to design a custom user interface, especially for these new view pages that we added, or new pages we added to the dashboard. And so for the analytics and flow sections, we added custom components using React.js. And these components are interacting directly with the server, so it's sending data to and from that. We also added custom header components for the agent and team sections in the dashboard, and that's just to let the agent know where they are at all times across the system. And we designed the dashboard for ideal users using call agents as our users. We wanted to make sure that they understood how to get through that system, and even with the call flows, we wanted to make sure that callers could understand the flow they're going through.
So what do our users think? We gathered a group of users and then split them between being an agent or admin or being a caller. And with the agents and admins, they liked the clean and simplistic layout. There was no unnecessary items on there. And we made changes to the terminology and iconography to make it more understandable for what each icon stands for and what it does. As far as callers go, they believed that it was pretty organized and straightforward, and that it was a good pacing of space between each option.
So for this project, obviously, our actions speak a little bit louder than our words. So we prepared a brief demo to avoid the trap of live demos sometimes. We pre-recorded it, and so we'll just show that, that video now. So we're going to give a brief demo of our system. We're going to quickly show the dashboard, and then we're going to do a few test calls to kind of show how everything interacts together. So starting with the dashboard, we can jump on down to the analytics dashboard. And this is a custom dashboard we built that pulls in all of the analytics that we're tracking from the database, and it also pulls in all of the different flows from the database. So as new flows are created or deleted or edited, or as the analytics get incremented, all of that will be updated in real time here on this dashboard. So you can see we have a quick summary of the overall totals, and then we have a more detailed report for each flow where you can see how each flow is performing.
So then we're going to go ahead and look at the flows dashboard. This is another custom dashboard that we made that shows the different details of each flow, as well as how much traffic an administrator wants going to each flow. These can be modified to allow for more or less traffic to go to a particular flow, and this is live, so changes here do make a difference as to how much traffic goes to each flow. You also have this edit button here. When you click on this button, it will take you to one of these views. It will take you to the one that corresponds to the particular flow that you clicked on. Here you can edit what is said in the flow, as well as what kind of decision making occurs. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to make a few quick calls to show you how the system actually works and what it sounds like from a user standpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and call as a potential customer, and the reason I'm a potential customer is I'm not in the customer's database. Therefore, when I call, it will not recognize my number. So I'm going to go ahead and call.
Thank you for calling Xstream TV. Are you a current customer?
So you can see there where it asked me if I'm a current customer. That is because it does not already know my number. It looked in the customer database, could not find me, and so it went ahead and asked if I was.
So now we'll demonstrate what it would be like for an existing customer to call. So my phone number, I am listed as a customer in the customer's database. So when I call, I will be treated as an existing customer. And to show how the percent of traffic options here work, just for demonstrational purposes, we'll edit this so that we force this next call to go to the experimental flow. So I set it to where 100% of calls within the existing customers category will be sent to the experimental existing customers flow. So I'll update those changes. And now I'm going to call the exact same number that Brett called, but I'll get a different menu.
Thank you for choosing Capstone TV. Would you like to upgrade or add new services to your...
So you get the idea that it started with a prompt saying, thank you for choosing Extreme TV, and then it gave me a sales prompt asking if I wanted to upgrade my services. But once again, just to kind of show how this works, we can make another change. Now we'll set it to where 100% of calls go to the existing customer's default flow. So I'll push those changes. And now when I make the call, I will get yet another different menu flow that is still geared towards existing customers, but the order of things, are differentiated a little bit. And for this call, we'll go ahead and go through some of the menu and actually send it to an agent so that we can see how that interaction works. So once again, I'm calling the exact same phone number.
Thank you for being a valued Extreme TV customer. Are you calling for technical support for your current services?
No.
Would you like to upgrade or add services to your current package?
Yes.
Please hold while we transfer your call to a sales agent.
So you can see here where a call is coming in. I'm going to go ahead and accept the call.
And so now me and the agent can go back and forth and talk.
Hey, Luke.
Hello, Brett.
So I'm going to go ahead and hang up here, but notice I have not completed the call yet. That's because I can take notes, or I can also designate whether an order was completed. Since Luke was calling to upgrade his services, we're going to designate that an order was completed. So I'm going to go ahead and click that it was, check it as complete, and so now we're going to go ahead and look at the analytics dashboard. So this was prior to our call, and this is what the analytics dashboard looks like now. Well, we'll go ahead and take a look at what the different numbers are. So you can see how this incremented by 3 because we made 3 different calls. Queue calls incremented by 1 because only 1 call made it to the queue. Net calls incremented by 1 because only 1 call made it or was sent to the queue. And orders was also incremented by 1 because he made an order. If he had not placed an order, then that would not have been incremented. I believe that concludes our demo, and thank you for watching.
What challenges did you guys experience when working on this project?
Definitely one of the largest challenges that we had was learning, how to use the call handling API, but also how to integrate with integrate the Express server as well as the dashboard. That was probably one of the biggest challenges.
And with building these components in React.js, I don't think any of us really knew about React.js or had ever used that programming language before this project, so that was also a major challenge.
What did you guys use to simulate users?
To simulate users, so a lot of times, honestly, we just called the system as far as testing it. And if we needed to test things like, I guess, post requests or things like that, we would just use Postman. That was most of our simulation.
Was there anything that you wanted to be in the scope of the project, but you had to cut, or like a thing that you really wanted, but just couldn't get it to work or had to cut it for a reason?
Yeah, so one of the things that were kind of a last minute idea that we wanted to add, but just didn't quite get to it, was on that analytics dashboard to kind of run some statistical tests behind the scenes, run like a chi-square test on the different flows within each category and actually report if one of them is statistically performing better to kind of indicate that that one is performing better.
Another thing that I would have liked to implement, and that was in earlier iterations, but it just didn't make the cut because it wasn't quite ready, was call tracking. Actually seeing, okay, how far did they make it and what decisions did they make in the tree.
All right, if there are no other questions, thank you guys. And I just wanted to thank you all for coming and spending your time here to see these presentations today. It means a lot to showcase our hard work throughout the semester. If you do have any other questions, we'll be sticking around for a couple minutes so that you can ask the teams any of the lingering things that you wanted to know. Thanks again, guys.